Yesterday we saw the three types of trees and three types of accounts, and I'm sure you're wondering which one wins. And you're probably also wondering, how do I get a guaranteed return on my money? Let's take a trip down memory lane. Remember chapter 4 when we introduced our first teammate, the banker? We opened a savings account because the interest rate was going to be a little higher and we were going to start to create money or make employees. Well, now you start to question. I have my Corona cushion saved away in my savings account, but how do I create more money and create even more employees? We'll have to look at chapter 6, what we learned around investing, chapter 9, what we've learned about taxes, and look at chapter 10.2 today around investments accounts and which one is going to be the best for you to open. Now, to answer that question, let's head back out to that tree expo. Welcome in to day 2, Judgment Day, here at Money Trees 2020. Today we're going to look at all 3 of those trees we reviewed and see which one is going to come out the tree of the year. Looking here at tree number 1, you'll remember we trimmed this one twice. Once before going in the dirt and once before the expo. Look at her now. Looking at tree 1, you see a brokerage account or after-tax account. This was the traditional setup where you as the individual began to invest your dollars. You would go to work, get taxed on those dollars, and then put them in a brokerage account. As they grew, you would have to tax them again at the end before you got to use them. Little sneak peek advisor tip, capital gains versus short-term capital gains, different taxes. We'll talk about that later on. The advantage of a brokerage account is you have access to your money at all times. Sure, you'll have to pay some taxes, but you won't be penalized. The advantage is also that you have any investment option available to you. You're not confined by any investment option choices. The disadvantage, well, we just talked about it. You get taxed twice. So obviously tree 1 gets trimmed a little bit more and you get taxed a lot more. Now you're coming up on tree number 2. You'll remember the lumberjack's method. He said, I don't like doing things twice. So what he did was stick that tree straight into the ground, let it grow, and then he trimmed it the week of the expo. Let's see how it turned out. Tree number 2, tax-deferred accounts, the 401k or the IRA, individual retirement account. The only difference here is, do you work for an employer, 401k, or do you work for yourself, an IRA? If you remember way back in chapter 1, 1.1, why we're taking this course is because these became the main vehicles for your financial freedom and future. Remember, companies shifted that liability of your freedom off of their balance sheet onto yours. And they had to promote these. They had to get you invested and involved in both of these types of accounts. How they did that was they gave you a tax advantage today. You don't pay taxes in a 401k or an IRA today. You pay taxes down the road when you pull the money out and use those dollars. The other advantage for a 401k program is that they offer free money. Money vehicle rule, always take free money. You want to see an example of exactly how that works? Let's go to the chalkboard. One of the money myths I've often heard talking to people at companies is, I don't want to put my money into a 401k because then I'll have less money. The opposite is actually true. So when you put money into a 401k, you are paying your future self. I made $1, I saved a dime. It is going into a different bucket. You do not lose those dollars by any means. You actually are making and creating more employees. If you look at the employer match, say you make $50,000 and your company matches 3%. You're going to make $1, save a dime, and put 10% or $5,000 into that 401k. and your company is going to match your contribution and put in another $1,500. That $1,500, that employer match, that free money, is the best investment return you could ever ask for. It's an immediate return, it's a guaranteed return, and that is the only time somebody should say the word guaranteed and return in the same sentence. So the advantages of a 401k are that you get a tax break today. You don't get a tax liability until down the road. The second one is the free money, a guaranteed almost 20% return depending on which bracket you're in. But there are some disadvantages. We'll talk about the 5 questions for your 401k in level 2. But the disadvantages of a 401k are that you don't have immediate access to these dollars. They are truly intended for future you. Anytime before the age of 60, you will be penalized if you pull those dollars out without some considerations involved. And then you look at the idea that the tax liability that you did not pay today, you're going to pay in the future. That tax liability will continue to grow as well. Those are some disadvantages, but 401ks, IRAs are great investments in future you. Let's go look at tree number 3. Let's look at tree number 3. Would you look at him grow? Wow, there was some genius in that crazy genius we met earlier, isn't there? Remember, this is the tree that had the Roth soil, which meant that he trimmed the tree before putting it into the dirt, but once in the dirt, he never trimmed that tree again. It was ready whenever he wanted to use it, today at the Tree Expo. Tree number 3 represents a Roth account or a tax-free account. This can be a Roth 401k or a Roth IRA. But what you have to understand is that this account was created to generate income for the government. Too much money was being pushed into deferred accounts like the 401k and the IRA, the traditional ones. That the government came out with the Roth account to tax you on those dollars today so they could get their taxable income. What they didn't figure out was that over a long-term time period, they were actually going to start losing out on tax dollars. And this is where money chess, what you're here to learn about, really starts to come into play. You now, as the investor, as the driver of your money vehicle, want the most advantageous account and vehicle for you as a young professional to open. So that is what we're going to focus on, the Roth account. You get taxed today, but you have a lifetime of tax-free growth. That and some other advantages are what we're going to talk about in 10.3. Question of the day. What is the only guaranteed investment you can make? Action item, go ahead. Open your Roth 401k or Roth IRA. And if you're wondering why, chapter 10.3 tomorrow, we're going to dive deep into why the Roth account is your best advantage today.